I'm going to get straight to the point. More testosterone does not always mean more performance. And I am talking about erectile dysfunction. It is not just a testosterone issue. Now, there can be a big part of it that has a lot to do with not having enough testosterone. But the other part has to do with blood flow. And I'm going to talk about that just a little bit. And then towards the end, I'm going to really get into the deep, geeky science for all those who really want to know more about that. But the purpose of this video is to give you some more information to empower yourself so you're not taking medications and things that maybe are unnecessary, or if you're having to take a medication to make that thing happen, then it's information that you're missing other things. And having a lack of blood flow can be a real problem. So let me just share the basic research that I want to talk about, first of all, on this. And the conclusion here in this article is nitric oxide, talking about a very important chemical that I'm going to get into later, is an essential mediator of erectile dysfunction. And impaired nitric oxide bioactivity is associated with erectile dysfunction. Okay, what am I saying, guys? You want NO, you want nitric oxide, the role of nitric oxide in erectile dysfunction, implications for medical therapy. So how do you know if this is an issue for you? It's the old saying, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak, meaning the desire is there, but the performance is not. So if the desire is there, that usually means you have plenty of testosterone. But if the performance is, I would be looking at the blood flow issue. And this is where I'm getting into strange peeps about mouthwash. I came across some really cool research that I can't wait to share with you about how that can be affecting your body's ability to get the blood flow going. In fact, okay, this is in Advances in Nutrition. Now, this is some really cutting edge, incredible information, not just about nitric oxide, but just in the way that they're looking at this in general. They're talking about rethinking how we talk about nitrate. A lot of times people are vilifying this nitrate and saying that it's terrible, but it might be something that we call a conditionally essential nutrient in cardiovascular health, blood flow. And as we know, that's not just the heart that needs the blood to flow. So the authors of this paper, they were challenging this myth. And I love the language that they use in here. They're talking about plant-derived nitrate as being one of the most underappreciated allies for cardiovascular health, nitric oxide production, and as you know, I'm always going to talk about longevity. So that would be a big key for our healthy aging. So it's a signaling molecule, nitric oxide, that is essential for vascular tone, blood pressure regulation, and endothelial function. But they say, again, it's one of those things that people say, is just as we age, we're losing our ability. And I definitely take issue with that. I do think that what people are blaming on aging is truly just the result of a supply issue of all the micronutrients to keep things functioning. But if this pathway, the normal pathway, isn't working due to quote unquote aging, there is this nitrate to nitrite nitric oxide pathway that becomes critical. And dietary nitrate does help fill that gap. And so we have to be looking at things like leafy greens, beets, celery. All these vegetables can act as a nitrate reserve system. So they help sustain those levels, even when the body's primary pathway becomes, say, less efficient. Now, they argue in this paper that it may be a conditionally essential nutrient, especially under certain circumstances, things like, metabolic dysfunction or extra stress. And I love that they emphasize this really important nuance that I always talk about, and it's that nitrate isn't just one thing. We have to be careful when people are representing things in a reductionist way, when they're focusing on just one tiny little aspect like nitric oxide, because from vegetables, it's paired, as we always say, with all of the other cofactors, the antioxidants, the polyphenols. All of these help enhance the conversion to nitric oxide and protect against the oxidative stress. So there's also other things that we have to be aware of that are going to be taking us down a different path with this. And that's why I'm not saying that we want to just like dump loads of nitrate into your body. It really matters about the source, but also the context. But the solution isn't, as they say in here, to fear the nitrate. It's to embrace it smartly. So prioritizing your high nitrate plants, so arugulas and beets and celery and spinach, bok choy, all those things we talked about. But the key thing that I found so cool they talk about is protecting the oral and gut microbiome, which help convert that nitrate into nitric oxide. So when people are taking this mouthwash and they're destroying their mouth microbiome, that can lead to an absolute cutting you off at the knees situation where you can't make what you're hoping to get. So this is why we need the whole thing working. So avoid the mouthwash use that can disrupt that conversion. And obviously be careful of other ways that you're going to be getting excess nitrate, like contamination in water and things like that. So when I see those gentlemen at the gym pumping iron, they're doing everything they can to get their testosterone up so that they can perform. They're not quite getting to the finish line if they're taking that mouthwash that's there and washing out their mouth with it. There are other ways to help your mouth and your breath work well. Most of it starts in the stomach. Maybe I'll do a whole video about that. If you guys have questions about how to get better results without mouthwash and having good breath, we can definitely talk about that for a long period of time. Now, there are actually companies out there that create oral probiotics. There's one from Sweden called BioGaia. So you're going to see more and more of that coming as well. Totally different way to think about this, but be aware of those things that you're doing every day and investigate as to whether or not they are something that could be slowing you down. Now, I didn't know this until recently, but I do know that anytime we're doing some things that are unnatural, we are rolling the dice and creating potentially more problems. And so the more we can stick to the way things occur in nature, the better off we're going to be. And as soon as I'm learning more in these things, I'm going to be making more videos and making sure that you are getting this information to empower you. Thanks for watching, and you guys have a good one.